Afternoon, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. Tuesday, April 28th. Headlines from Arkansas and around the world. I say around the world because I think the big news today, and it'll lead most newspapers' front pages tomorrow, were oral arguments this morning before the United States Supreme Court on the multiple cases pending before them about same-sex marriage in the United States. It's been bans against that have been overruled in most states. There's one court that has upheld such a ruling. The Supreme Court's going to decide the issue. It's not too surprising that there was a division among the court between liberal and conservative justices on the core question. People were looking very closely at judges like Anthony Kennedy, who's viewed as a potential swing vote. He had questions for both sides. He was troubled with a change in a practice that has been culturally accepted for 1,000 years, but he also seems sympathetic to the fact that families are being formed by married couples around the country and that they could be set back by a ruling against them. John Roberts also gave some somewhat ambiguous remarks. It'd be foolish to make a prediction based on arguments today. I'd say the vote is going to be close. That much seems clear. There was a development in Arkansas today that's a very small development in a way, but it's emblematic, I think, of the changes that have come across our society recently. A new nonprofit group that supports transgender people announced that it received a grant and will receive cooperation from the University of Arkansas's College of Public Health to do a study on health care for transgender people. They are particularly discriminated against minority, a subset of a subset really in the sexual world. And surveys have shown they have a hard time not only getting health care, but getting health care professionals to understand their very peculiar needs. This subject has gotten a great deal of attention this week because of Bruce Jenner, but it's coming out as a transgender, but it's an issue that has deep implications. In fact, their uncertainty and lack of knowledge about them, I think, is one of the big reasons that opponents have been successful in using transgender people as a wedge to fight civil rights ordinances for LGBT people. So it was significant, I think, that UAMS is going to contribute to a study to helping these people. I hope that the Arkansas legislature, which has been very unfriendly to such minority causes, won't be unfriendly to this one. News at the state capitol today. Dennis Milligan, the state treasurer, has suspended his top employee, Jason Brady, while he studies whether anything improper was done in Brady using his former nonprofit employer's phone to do some campaign work for Dennis Milligan. Everyone claims this was just a happenstance, an inadvertent mistake. Also, Dennis Milligan's office has fired an employee for reasons not yet revealed. And he was somebody who was a dogged campaigner for Milligan. This isn't a holdover who's been spreading dirt on Milligan. He was somebody who filed ethics complaints against Milligan's opponent in the election. It's a mystery why he was fired. There's some speculation perhaps Milligan blames him for all of the string of stories that have come out about self-dealing in Milligan's office, bad hiring decisions. Milligan has not proved to be exactly the clean broom that was needed to follow up for Martha Schaffner, the Democrat who was convicted of taking bribes. Elsewhere around the state, lawsuit filed in federal court over another inmate who says he was mistreated in the Saline County Jail a few years ago, a person who said he was denied medical treatment, although he had a prolapsed colon which was hanging out of his rectum. It's a gruesome story. Officials there say he's a problem inmate and that the situation was handled properly, at least by some officers, but it's more indication that a big cleanup certainly was needed in Saline County. Asa Hutchinson yesterday appointed a criminal justice task force to look into criminal justice reform, somehow to hold down our prison costs and provide more help for people when they leave prison so they can be contributing members to society. This is at least his fourth task force: criminal justice, the Common Core, private option, computer science, and I think we're going to have a task force on task forces before we're over with. What happened to governors who just made decisions and got the legislature to approve what they wanted to do? Mara Leverett, our dogged longtime senior editor and reporter, is in Ashdown this week reporting on the retrial of Tim Howard on a murder charge in 1997 for killing two people. There's tough testimony against Howard. The prosecutors think he's guilty. Reporting for us some years ago, Mara pointed out how the prosecutors had failed to produce all the relevant evidences in this case. He was on death row for more than a dozen years. Finally, his sentence was overturned. A sidelight to this story is the prosecutor in that case now a circuit judge, defended his actions in not providing the defense with everything that they should have been provided in the first trial. He calls Mara Leverett a liar. That was a mistake. Mara sets out chapter and verse about how the prosecutor did indeed not provide all the evidence, and the Supreme Court said very clearly his failure to do so is why Tim Howard's getting a new trial today. Some recommended reading for you. Ernest Dumas will write this week in the Arkansas Times, and it's on our blog today, about Mike Huckabee's use of religious fear as a path to the presidency. Dumas writes about the frequent use of religious fear in other places, in the Middle East, particularly in Europe and in great crusades, but it's not been a fact in American political life until very recently. Of course, we had some founding fathers like Thomas Jefferson who thought religion ought to be kept out of government. The Republican primary candidates this year are taking a different point of view. And speaking of Mike Huckabee, the Club for Growth said yesterday that it's going to spend a lot of money to fight Mike Huckabee's campaign for the presidency yet again. It broke with this is a conservative group of wealthy people who hate taxes, and it broke with the governor for one of those times when I think Mike Huckabee deserved a defense, and that was when he backed significant tax increases. He was the biggest tax raiser in Arkansas gubernatorial history, but it was for good purposes, to pay for health care, to pay for education, and to pay for highways. So we'll give Mike Huckabee a pass on that. The Club for Growth will not. And finally, on the money topic, more reporting again today on the Clinton Foundation and whether there's anything untoward about the contributions that have been made to its worldwide charitable efforts by people perhaps looking to get favors with the former Secretary of State or future president. I'd refer you to our blog or to MediaMatters.com, a website that has done a great listing of the past reporting of Peter Schweitzer, who's written the book that spurred much of this talk about the Clintons' money. He doesn't have a very good record, to put it mildly. Take a look, see what you think. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.